Maya stood frozen in place as the cafe owner's words lingered in the air, heavy and ominous. Daniel just left, but I think he's not done with you yet. The chill in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Her mind raced, trying to process the weight of what he had just said. Had Daniel really left? And what did the cafe owner mean by him not being done with her? Before she could respond, the cafe owner stepped closer, his face now inches from hers. There was a strange intensity in his eyes, one that sent a wave of heat crashing through her. It wasn't just concern, it was something more, something unspoken that made her heart race. I don't understand, Maya said, her voice trembling slightly. She swallowed hard, trying to push away the confusion that clouded her thoughts. Why would he say something like that? Why would he act like that? The cafe owner ran a hand through his dark hair, his expression becoming guarded. Sometimes people think they know what they want, he said slowly, his voice low and thoughtful. But when things don't go according to plan, they can become unpredictable, jealous, obsessed. He glanced at her, as if assessing her reaction. It's not easy to deal with someone like that. Maya nodded, trying to process his words. Jealous, obsessed? She hadn't expected Daniel to act this way, not after all the promises and the excitement they'd shared during their late-night calls and video chats. But now, standing here in front of this man, this cafe owner, who seemed to know more about her situation than she did, she began to wonder if she'd been blinded by the excitement of it all. Had she missed the signs? Was Daniel truly the man she thought he was? You don't have to deal with him alone, you know? The cafe owner continued, his voice breaking through her thoughts. If you want, I can help. I've dealt with people like him before. Maya looked up at him, meeting his gaze for the first time fully. There was something in his eyes, a mixture of care and something darker, that unsettled her. He wasn't just offering comfort, he was offering protection. It was as if he saw something in her, something fragile, and he wanted to shield her from it. But what did that mean for her? I don't even know what to say anymore, Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. Everything is just too much. The cafe owner's gaze softened, and for a moment Maya swore she saw a flicker of something more in his eyes. It was brief, but it was there, something that made her heart race in a way she hadn't expected. And then, before she could stop herself, she found herself taking a step closer to him. His scent, a mix of fresh coffee and something muskier, wrapped around her like an invisible thread. Maya, he said, his voice barely more than a breath. You don't have to say anything. Just trust me. She wanted to pull away, to regain control of the situation. But there was something about him, something magnetic, that made it impossible to break free. She found herself drawn to him, to the warmth in his voice, the strength in his presence. And before she could think about what she was doing, she felt the air between them change, becoming charged with a quiet intensity. His eyes dropped to her lips, and her breath hitched as she realized how close they were. Her heart pounded in her chest, her body betraying her with an uncontrollable rush of desire. He seemed to sense it too, his gaze lingering on her lips before flicking back to her eyes. A faint smile tugged at his lips, as if he could read the turmoil inside her. We can't, Maya began to protest, but the words felt hollow as soon as they left her mouth. The truth was, she didn't want to pull away. She didn't want to deny the pull she felt between them. She was tired of holding back, of pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. Without another word, the cafe owner closed the gap between them, leaning in slowly, his lips brushing hers with the gentlest of touches. Maya's breath caught in her throat as the kiss deepened, a slow, burning connection that set her entire body alight. For a brief moment, all her doubts, all her confusion melted away. It was just the two of them, standing in the quiet of the cafe, caught in a moment that felt like it could last forever. When they finally pulled away, Maya's head was spinning. Her lips tingled from the kiss, and she couldn't find the words to explain what she was feeling. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. All she could do was look up at him, searching for the truth in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion. "I didn't mean to cross a line, but I couldn't help myself." Maya shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. "No, it's not that. It's just, everything is so complicated. He nodded, his expression understanding but still tinged with something darker. I get it, but if you're ever ready to stop running, you know where to find me. Before she could respond, the sound of the cafe door opening interrupted the moment. Maya turned instinctively, her heart racing as she saw a familiar figure step inside. It was Daniel. He stood there, his gaze locking on hers, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. His face was a mask of anger and hurt, and Maya's stomach twisted with a mixture of guilt and confusion. She had never seen him like this before. His eyes were cold, his jaw clenched tight. The tension in the air was palpable. "Maya," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "What is this? What's going on here?" The cafe owner stepped in front of her, his posture protective, his eyes never leaving Daniel's. "She doesn't owe you anything." Daniel's eyes flicked to the cafe owner, a flash of recognition in them. He looked like he was about to say something, but instead he just turned to Maya, his gaze softening for a brief moment. "I thought we had something special," Daniel said, his voice quiet but filled with hurt. "I thought you were mine." Maya's heart broke at the words, but she knew what she had to do. The truth was, she wasn't sure what was real anymore. And in this moment, she knew she had to make a choice. The cafe owner's protective stance didn't waver as Daniel stepped closer. But before anyone could say anything else, Maya made her decision. She turned to Daniel, her heart pounding. "Daniel, I think it's time for us to stop pretending." And just like that, her world shifted again.